Welcome to Lento English. Ready to level up your English? Here we learn through stories, slow, clear, and fun. Listen, relax, and enjoy the journey.
One introduction. Canada is going through a difficult time. Many things feel uncertain for the country. A big reason for this tension comes from the United States, Canada's neighbor to the south. The actions and words of the U.S. president are causing concern. Because of this serious situation, the Canadian government decided to call a national election very quickly. This means people across Canada must vote for their leaders again, sooner than expected. This sudden vote shows how important these challenges are. This election is different from many others. The most important topic is the relationship with the United States. How should Canada deal with the current U.S. President, Donald Trump? This is the main question voters are thinking about. President Trump has strong opinions and takes actions that affect Canada directly. Canadian leaders need a clear plan to manage this relationship carefully. The leader of the Canadian government is Prime Minister Mark Carney. He is the head of the Liberal Party. Mr. Carney became Prime Minister quite recently. His main opponent in this election is Pierre Poilievre. Mr. Poilievre leads the Conservative Party, which is the main party not in government. He hopes his party will win the election so he can become the new Prime Minister. Mr. Carney and Mr. Poilievre offer different ways to handle the problems coming from the U.S. President Trump's actions have created serious problems for Canada. He introduced new trade taxes on some goods that Canada sells to the United States. These special taxes are called tariffs. They apply to important Canadian products like steel and aluminum. These tariffs make it harder for Canadian companies to do business and can hurt Canada's economy. President Trump also shared a surprising idea online. He suggested Canada could join the United States and become the 51st state. This idea worries many Canadians who value their country's independence. These actions are central problems in the election. This book will explore this very unusual and important time in Canadian politics. It looks at why this quick election was called. It examines the big challenges Canada faces because of President Trump's policies and statements. We will learn about the main leaders and their plans. The book studies this unique political situation. It also looks at the effects these events have on Canada, its people, and its important relationship with the United States now and for the future. 2. The President Next Door. Donald Trump became the President of the United States again in January 2025. This was his second time as president. Very soon after starting his new term, he began to talk a lot about the country next door, Canada. His focus was immediate and strong. President Trump said he wanted to put new taxes on things Canada sells to the United States. These special taxes are called tariffs. He talked about putting tariffs on important Canadian goods. These included steel and aluminum. He also mentioned possible tariffs on cars and car parts made in Canada. This was very worrying because the car industry is very important for jobs in both countries. These were not small taxes. For example, he spoke about a 25% tax on steel and aluminum. This news was serious for Canada because many Canadian companies depend on selling these things to the U.S. President Trump also had another very surprising idea. He suggested that Canada should join the United States. He wanted Canada to become the 51st U.S. state. He shared this idea online for everyone to see. He wrote that if Canada joined the U.S., Canadians could have lower taxes, maybe half of what they paid. He promised their businesses, like car and steel companies, could become much bigger, maybe 4 times bigger. He said there would be zero tariffs between the countries anymore. He also said people could travel freely across the border with no checks, saying no more artificially drawn line. He wrote online, "Look how beautiful this land mass would be." He finished by saying America could not keep helping Canada with money unless Canada became a state. These ideas and threats from the U.S. president created a big problem for Canada. The Canadian economy depends a lot on trade with the United States. New tariffs could hurt Canadian businesses very badly and cost many jobs, possibly pushing the country towards recession. The idea of becoming the 51st state was also shocking and worrying for most Canadians. It felt like a serious risk to Canada's independence and its own way of life. People across Canada started to feel worried and uncertain about the future. President Trump's words and actions created a tense situation. This difficult relationship with the United States happened just as Canada was experiencing political changes. The actions of the president next door were quickly becoming the biggest issue for the country. 3. A change in Canada. The year 2025 started with a big change in Canadian politics. In January, Justin Trudeau stopped being the Prime Minister. He was the leader of the Liberal Party and had led Canada for almost 10 years. But many people in Canada were not happy. The economy was a big worry for them. Things cost a lot of money, and some people felt it was time for a different government after a decade with the same party in charge. There was a general feeling that the country needed a new direction. Before Mr. Trudeau left, it looked like the opposition party, the Conservatives, would win the next election. Their leader was Pierre Poilievre. Opinion polls, which ask people who they plan to vote for, showed the Conservatives were very popular. It seemed like they had strong support from Canadians. Many experts thought Mr. Poilievre had a very good chance of becoming the next Prime Minister whenever an election happened. The Liberal Party seemed to be in a difficult position. Then, the Liberal Party chose a new leader. His name was Mark Carney. Mr. Carney was different from many politicians because he had never been elected to political office before. His background was in money and banking. He had very important jobs running the central banks for both Canada and Great Britain. He led the Bank of Canada and helped the country during the big financial problems in 2008. Later, he was the governor of the Bank of England, where he helped manage the economic changes around Brexit. These experiences meant he knew a lot about how economies work, especially during difficult times. Mr. Carney won the leadership contest for the Liberal Party. In March 2025, he officially became the party leader. Because the Liberal Party was still the governing party, this meant he also became Canada's new Prime Minister, taking over from Justin Trudeau. This sudden change in leadership happened just a short time after Mr. Trump had started his new term as president in the United States. Canada now had a new leader with a strong background in economics, ready to face the country's challenges. 4. The election is called. In March 2025, Canada's new leader, Prime Minister Mark Carney, made a big decision. He had only been Prime Minister for a short time, but he decided to call a quick national election. He announced that Canadians would vote on April 28, 2025. Why did he call an election so early? There were different ideas about this. Maybe Prime Minister Carney saw that many Canadians were worried and angry about the actions of U.S. President Donald Trump. Calling an election could bring these people together to support his government. Or maybe Carney felt he needed strong support from the people. This support would help him face the serious problems with the United States. The election campaign started very quickly. Usually in an election, leaders talk about many different subjects like healthcare or jobs. This time was different. From the beginning, one topic was more important than all the others: the relationship with President Trump and the United States. President Trump's new taxes on Canadian goods were a big worry. His talk about Canada possibly becoming the 51st state of the U.S. also made many Canadians nervous. These issues became the central part of the election discussions. Prime Minister Carney traveled across Canada. His message was clear: Canada needed protection. He said Canada must defend its independence and its economy. He spoke about standing strong against the pressure from the United States. He sometimes talked about the feeling of an American betrayal, but said Canada must now focus on taking care of itself. Pierre Poilievre was the leader of the Conservative Party and Carney's main opponent. He had a difficult job. Before Carney became Prime Minister, Poilievre's party was very popular. Many Canadians were unhappy about the economy and the cost of living. Poilievre wanted to talk about these money problems. But because President Trump was such a big issue, Poilievre also had to explain how he would manage the relationship with the U.S. president. During the Canadian election campaign, President Trump himself made comments. He used his social media account, Truth Social. He again suggested that Canada should join the United States and become the 51st state. He wrote that this would be very good for Canada. He promised things like lower taxes and a stronger military, paid for by the U.S. if Canada became a state. He even told Canadians to choose the leader who could make this happen, although Canadians could not vote for President Trump. The stage was set for the election. Canadians had to decide which leader they trusted more to guide their country through this difficult time with their powerful neighbor. 5. Canadians vote. On April 28, 2025, millions of Canadians went to vote in a national election. It was a very important day. The election was called suddenly, and the mood across the country was serious. People felt unsure about the future, mostly because of problems with Canada's neighbor, the United States. The main question on voters' minds was simple: which leader could best handle the challenges coming from U.S. President Donald Trump? President Trump had recently started his second term. He quickly began talking about Canada. He threatened new taxes on important Canadian goods like steel, aluminum, and cars. He also surprised many people by suggesting Canada should become the 51st state of the U.S. These threats felt very real and worried many Canadians, so people voting had to think carefully. Was Mark Carney, the new Liberal Prime Minister, the right person to protect Canada, or was Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative leader, a better choice? President Trump's actions and words had a big impact on the election. Before the campaign started, many Canadians were not happy with the economy. The Liberal Party had been in government for 10 years. Polls showed that Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives were much more popular. It looked like they had a strong chance to win. But during the short election campaign, President Trump kept talking about Canada. He made comments online, even close to Election Day, pushing the idea of Canada joining the U.S. His constant focus on Canada seemed to change how people felt. The election stopped being mainly about the economy. Instead, it became about how Canada should respond to the U.S. president. News reports and polls showed that support for Mark Carney and the Liberals started to grow. It seemed many voters decided that Carney, with his international experience, was the safer choice to defend Canada's interests and independence against President Trump's pressure. Choosing the right leader to face this unusual situation became the most important decision for voters. 6. Election night results. On the night of April 28, 2025, people across Canada waited. They watched their televisions and computers. They wanted to know the results of the quick election. The results started to come in from different parts of the country. Soon, the news was clear. Mark Carney and his Liberal Party won the election. They won more seats than any other party. This means Mark Carney will continue to be the Prime Minister. But it was not a very big win for the Liberals. They won enough seats to lead the government. However, they probably did not win a majority. A majority means winning more than half of all the seats in the government. A party needs 172 seats for a majority. Without a majority, the Liberals have a minority government. This means they will need help from other political parties to pass new laws. Later that night, the leader of the Conservative Party spoke. Pierre Poilievre admitted defeat. He told his supporters that his party did not win the election. He said that Mark Carney and the Liberals had won enough seats to form the government. But he also said it was a very small win for them, not a strong one. There was also important news about another party leader. Jagmeet Singh is the leader of the NDP party. Mr. Singh lost his own election in his home area. He did not win his seat. Because he lost his seat, Jagmeet Singh announced he would stop being the leader of the NDP. Many people started to talk about why the Liberals won. Before the election, many thought the Conservatives would win. But things changed during the election campaign. President Trump in the United States said many things about Canada. He talked about new taxes on Canadian things. He also talked about Canada becoming the 51st state of America. Some people think these words from President Trump worried many Canadians. They think this worry made more people vote for Mark Carney and the Liberals. Voters perhaps felt Carney was the best person to protect Canada from President Trump's plans. The final results showed a country that chose the Liberals to lead, but not with the strong support of a majority government. 7. A new path for Canada. After winning the election, Prime Minister Mark Carney gave an important speech. He spoke to all Canadians. He said that Canada would never yield to the United States. This means Canada will stand strong and not give up. Carney promised to be a leader for everyone in Canada, no matter who they voted for. He said the country needed to find a new path forward. The relationship with the United States had changed very much. Carney spoke about the American betrayal. This was about President Trump's actions, like putting new taxes on Canadian goods and talking about making Canada part of the U.S. These actions surprised and hurt Canada. Carney said Canadians must not forget these lessons. He explained that Canada now needs to look out for ourselves and take care of each other. Canada could not depend only on the U.S. anymore. The new path meant Canada needed to become more independent. Prime Minister Carney talked about meeting President Trump. He said any talks would be between two separate countries, two sovereign nations. Canada would not be seen as less important than the U.S. Carney also made it clear that Canada has many other options besides the United States. He planned to build stronger friendships with other countries, especially in Europe. This would help Canada's economy and security. The leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, also spoke after the election. Even though his Conservative Party lost, he promised to help the country face the problems with the U.S. Poilievre said his party would work with Prime Minister Carney. Together, they would defend Canada's interests. They would protect Canada's sovereignty, its independence from President Trump's threats. This showed an important agreement between the main political parties. They knew Canada needed to be united against the pressure from its neighbor. There was a big problem that needed attention very quickly. The United States government planned to put new, high taxes on Canadian cars and car parts. These taxes were set to start on May 3rd, just days away. This was a serious threat because Canada sells many cars to the U.S. The taxes could hurt Canada's economy very badly and cost many jobs. Prime Minister Carney understood this danger. He warned Canadians that there might be tough days ahead. However, many Canadians felt hopeful. They believed Carney's long experience working in finance and banking in Canada and Britain would help him guide the country through this difficult time. Canada was starting on a new path, facing big challenges but determined to protect itself. 8. Looking ahead. After the election, Prime Minister Mark Carney and his government face big questions about Canada's future. The relationship with the United States is the main problem. President Trump's actions have changed things a lot. Canada must now find a new way forward. Prime Minister Carney has a plan. He wants Canada to build more things at home. This means new houses for people and new factories for businesses. He also wants Canada to find new ways to get energy. The idea is to make Canada stronger by itself. It means Canada will not need the United States so much in the future. Part of the plan is also about making new friends. Mr. Carney wants Canada to have stronger connections with other countries. He visited Europe soon after becoming Prime Minister. He spoke to leaders in France and Britain. He wants to build better relationships for trade and security with countries that Canada can trust more. This gives Canada more choices and makes it less dependent on its neighbor. But there are big challenges, especially with money. The new American taxes on Canadian products like cars and metal are a serious problem. These taxes could hurt Canadian businesses and cost people their jobs. Mr. Carney has warned Canadians that there will be tough days ahead. The country might face serious money problems, maybe even a recession. The government must work hard to protect Canada's economy. Many people think Mr. Carney's past work can help now. He was the head of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. He has experience managing money during difficult times, like the big financial problems in 2008. He understands how world business and money work. People hope this experience will help him lead Canada through this difficult period. Mr. Carney says he will talk with President Trump. But he is clear that these talks will be between two separate countries that rule themselves. He also says Canada has many other options besides the United States for its future success. Canada needs to look after itself now. The relationship between Canada and the United States will likely be different for a long time. These events might also change how Canadians see their country and its place in the world. Mr. Carney's government has many difficult tasks ahead. They need to protect the economy, build new international friendships, and keep the country strong.